Hey, JB. Know what this
Dude,
is?
is that are we saying that we're officially into fall now that there's like is that like a pumpkin donut?
And pumpkin spice
Uh,
at Dunkin'. Do we get any money for
okay,
doing
I didn't
this? Actually,
no. Is Brian Bubna going to be on today's show? He's got a game tonight.
good point. Maybe we should call him. But you know who we were talking to? Nate Milne. We were texting with him a little bit ago.
Yeah,
He's got a game tomorrow, and he's flying somewhere tonight with his team
big
down
game.
to Austin, Texas, where I'll be flying into tomorrow morning, actually, Lord willing and planes willing. But JB, do you know what this signifies? This pumpkin donut here. I need to actually start eating it because I'm getting hungry. But do you know what it signifies?
Um, Hopefully not like a shutout. I mean, that's a good thing for some defenses.
I didn't see that coming.
You
Not
didn't see that coming. I can
at
tell.
all.
Yeah.
But do you know what else it signifies?
How like, you're going to be eating road food all weekend and probably gain 5 pounds?
You know what?
Yeah.
Why not? Why not?
Get some barbecue at Miller's. Isn't that the thing? The Miller's barbecue down there in Belton. They just like put it in the press box and all that kind of stuff.
It is. And we will begin our show here in a moment where we'll talk a little bit about Miller's, among other things. So you'll want to stay tuned here. We are in a delayed camera right now. I'm noticing I'm a little bit delayed, but life will go on here. Season 15 of In the Huddle with technical difficulties and all.
You turn your mute
Yeah,
button off there, buddy.
who knew? Uh, we'll,
Yep.
we'll see how this works. Right now, I can see you fine. I think it's my end that's having the issues. If you can see me and hear me, we're just going to plug along here and talk about.
Oh, good.
Maybe this is a way with a delay I can think extra time for the lightning predictions.
Yeah, we're gonna have to actually really be lightning quick because from what I can tell, Frank, with especially now we got 6 regions, we're gonna try and cram 14 games into 12 minutes. For a couple of long-winded guys, this could be a challenge. I don't know.
Well, before anything else, we have not done this all season long. We're going to give you the opportunity to give your thoughts on life in general here. JB, tell us about the season startup and what you're really looking for, the 30,000 foot view by JB. Go for it.
Wow. Yeah, no pressure there. But I think, it's just great to be sort of back to normal after the COVID year. And, we saw a good 2021 season. And it feels like this year coming in, we're just really blessed with a lot of great interregional, huge, almost, prime time, FBS style games in week 1, 2, and even 3. So, it's going to be really fun for D3 football fans. There's going to be games that happen this weekend that will impact the playoff picks, come 11 weeks later. So that's going to be really fascinating to see, especially when you think about the St. John's versus the Whitewaters, the Whitworths versus Carnegie Mellon, Hopkins versus Case Western. I mean, there's all these interesting games that are going to be happening this weekend. Del Val, Westminster, for instance, that will impact the playoff race. We are still in a 27 AQ 5 Pool C situation, just if anyone's keeping track at home. But once again, D3 is all about the AQ. That's how you get in. So you can lose some games potentially in these first couple of weeks, but you better win your conference. Unless you're maybe Mary Hardin Baylor, when we talked on our last show about the possibility of them losing to Hardin Simmons after their tough schedule. Well, we'll see what happens.
Well, you see it on our screen right now, and there is our Region 1 preview here, and we're going to go to the key games. Now, in some cases, some games have been played already. We denoted Thursday and Friday games that are kind of separate from the rest of the pack. But here is our Region 1 listing here, and we'll pay attention to the games that we are calling the games of the week, especially in the bottom left of each of these slides. For me, Rowan versus Widener. This is a classic matchup of the past that has importance for both teams. They both need to start off on the right foot. Last year wasn't necessarily the year they had intended for various reasons. They both need to kind of get off on the right foot. Tell us about, you look at West versus DVU, and you would assume in week 1 that's Wesley versus Delaware Valley.
I know. I was just thinking that. I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, that looks like the Wolverines, call sign. But yeah, now West is actually Westminster, Pennsylvania. And for those of you who haven't seen it yet, and Frank is included, just a little cheap plug for the quick hits on D3Football.com. This was a game that got kind of called out where, the loser could potentially be in trouble from a Pool C perspective down the road if they don't win the conference. It's been a while since I think the Pack has had multiple playoff entrants, same thing with the MAC. So it's a pretty critical game for both teams to get off to a good start, and we'll see what happens.
In Region 2, you'll see Albright versus Salisbury is a game that probably won't be too close in many people's minds, but could be interesting. But that big Whitworth-Carnegie Mellon game, that's a huge game for all intents and purposes. It was an important game at certain points when we were talking about things last year. And then we have, you're showing me something I'm going to put up on the screen in a moment, so you just sit back, relax over there, Hobart boy.
Okay.
But it's going to be the question of Hobart hosting Alfred on a rare Friday night game at the Boz. I chose Whitworth versus Carnegie Mellon as my game of the week. Both teams could be in the mix ultimately late in the season, so this game could loom large. You have Hopkins versus Case Western Reserve. I can't hate on that choice because I understand both teams should be at least near the top of their respective conferences at the end of the season. So this too could have implications, but I'll let you say it.
Yeah, Hopkins was picked to win the Centennial in the preseason poll. Case was sort of my team to watch in the Pack. They were the champions in 2019. They feel like they kind of got a raw deal during COVID, and they didn't have the best 21 season, so they're looking to bounce back. They were a playoff team just a couple of years ago. But like from your some of your quick picks on D3 football, Frank, Wittenberg-Cortland is kind of a looms large. That could be kind of an interesting sort of inter-regional matchup. You also got John Carroll versus Washington-Jefferson could have major Pool C implications 3 months down the road. So it'll be kind of interesting to see. Union, your alma mater, is going out to Pennsylvania to play the Gators in a new sort of rivalry potentially starting up there. And then obviously Framingham State versus Brockport. Hey, congrats to Josh, a.k.a. Uno from there. He made the Seattle Seahawks roster. Pretty amazing. A former guest of the show, and we'll be keeping an eye out for number 49 on Sundays.
I do think that Ralph Isernia has some thanking to do to Ryan Tips for picking against RPI in the top 25 team that most likely is to lose. So we have at D3Football.com a tradition of picking against RPI whenever they're ranked, apparently. That's just the way it works now. So there you go.
Well, it seems to work out pretty good for him.
That's what I'm saying. You better thank him. Let's go to our Region 3 situations here. And our games of the week, it really is the same game of the week. Muhlenberg versus Mary Hardin Baylor, a game I will be traveling down to. Absolutely. But, it's one of those scenarios for me, JB, where really, for as much as you want to root on the idea of playing this strong game early in the season, because the Centennial and the American Southwest, and I said this in Quick Hits, are going to be so, I think, depth-worthy or ridden, another slip-up in conference, they may not get through ultimately, because I don't know what their strength of schedule is going to look like if you're using a purely objective strength of schedule. Obviously, with subjectivity, you would be looking at these teams being like, come on, this is a gimme. These teams played each other, and hopefully it was a good game and all that stuff. But this is a risk, but a risk that Nate Milne and company knew they were taking going into this whole thing.
Yeah, and as you can hear outside, the engines are revving. It's getting exciting to see what these two basically top 10 teams are capable of. I mean, the bigger question mark is on the Muhlenberg side with the graduation of their quarterback Michael Natowski, if I'm saying it correctly.
Nakowski, yep.
But yeah, so that's kind of a big question there. UMHB brings back everyone and the kitchen sink, a team that's won 20 games in a row. They're going to be heavily favored, and even as you recall from I think it was the 2018 semifinals when an All-American QB and Joe Germanario went down. I mean, he was kind of starstruck by this palatial stadium. There's going to be a huge crowd. They're celebrating the national championship. I hear some celebrity guests like Sparkleman will be there. I mean, it's going to be a huge thing going on, and so the Mules are going to have to stay focused and lock in. Otherwise, it could be a rough night for them. We'll see.
Looking at games that were already played, Belhaven had a good night last night. Ferrum, I believe. Did Ferrum beat Virginia Wise? I didn't see the final score on that one.
No, the final score on that one was something like 38 to 9. The Black Cats had a rough night. I mean, Virginia Wise is a pretty solid Division II school. And the Wilmington, South Virginia game was crazy. I think the Quakers set or tied a touchdown passing record with 6 TDs. So they're off to a good start. They might be a team to keep an eye on in the OAC.
More on those games in crunch time on our first show on Facebook of next week. So you'll want to stay tuned for that. Yep. Anderson Trine also game played, and Trine was pretty, I think, prolific on the scoreboard, at least, in their win. We have a disagreement here on the game of the week to watch, even though we have a small sample to look at here. I have Hampton-Sydney versus Wabash, which is Wabash's first game before the North Central game. I'm curious to see how this plays out. Yeah, exactly, and Hampton-Sydney is no pushover. We know that. You have Rose-Hulman versus DePauw. So we have NCAC-centric picks, but you have DePauw, Rose-Hulman. Again, I can't hate on that pick by you, but I'll let you speak for yourself on why that.
Well, I mean, ultimately, it's a first-round playoff rematch from last year, which was a 5-point game. I think DePauw won 26-21, so it was very competitive, both nationally, competitive teams at the top of their conference. Although now that I'm looking at this list, I think we might have slept a little bit on Franklin versus Olivet. You like Franklin in our Region 4 preview show, so it could be interesting. How it goes there. Another game to keep an eye on is Center versus Hanover. I mean, that's another great crossover. And I know, Frank, you were kind of communicating with someone from Center recently. You want to give him a shout out?
Trenton Duper, their quarterback, who is intending to come back this year. He's going to put that off until next year as he's about to go through his 4th treatment for cancer that's hit him. We are going to hopefully have him on the show in the next few weeks. He was all willing to come on. I'm like, listen, take it easy, get your focus on where it belongs in terms of beating this, and we want his story, his journey to become something that you can all hear about, because he's not the only one out there getting hit by cancer way too young in life, and he's going to beat this, folks. I'm pretty confident, and he appreciates all of the support. He's just overwhelmed by the support he's received in Division III for what he is facing. So Trenton, keep up that fight. We will have you on the show soon so you can tell us about the journey and the victory that hopefully is just around the corner for you. Just keep fighting. Having said that, God, I get emotional on this show sometimes. I hate this. Not on week 1. Come on. We can't do this in week 1.
Yeah. No.
Let's go to Region 5. Illinois College, have they finished doing pick 6 dances yet?
That was crazy. The Blue Boys had 3 pick 6s for 167 interception return yards. At one point, their offense only had 9 total yards, but they were up like 17 or 24-6 over Lakeland because they just kept picking off the quarterback and running it back. It was kind of a crazy night for them, but hey, it was a win, and they started off 1-0, and can see once again not a ton of action in Region 5, but there's some interesting games. Looks like you like St. Olaf versus Central, who obviously doesn't have Blaine Hawkins. Finally getting that. It only took a year for me to get that name right. I kind of like River Falls versus Elmhurst. Elmhurst is a kind of up and coming team. River Falls finished third in the WIAC or WIAC, depending on how you pronounce it. They were the Isthmus Bowl champs. Can they keep that momentum going and maybe make some more noise? We'll see.
Just to explain myself here, you've got a MEAC team, or now, oh boy, here we go. We have a MIAC team. Yeah, MIAC and WIAC. We'll try to keep that consistent, I guess, this year. We have a MIAC team that is going to be probably mid-packer at the worst in terms of St. Olaf this season. We have a Central team that we don't know enough about now that they've had their graduations. And so I actually think this could be a really good game for especially a week one game as they kind of feel each other out. In this one. So, it may not have playoff implications. I think both these teams will probably need to win their conference outright to get into the playoffs, but it could have just general momentum implications. And that's the other thing you look at in these early season games, especially the really good games. You're going to learn a lot about yourself when you play a decent team, but you're also going to have a momentum play where you've got to, if you lose it, get out of that mentality by the second day, after the game, because you've got a week 2 game that's probably not much worse in terms of opponent that you're going to be facing. If you win it, you can't look past the fact that you've got another big opponent coming up too. So momentum's nice, and it gives you a certain validation, but it can play out both ways here when you got these types of games. But we like seeing these types of games, no doubt, when we get this inter-region matchup or inter-conference matchup scenario that we're seeing. This is inter-region, the one I was just pointing out, because St. Olaf and company are in Region 6 with the MIAC. Here we are in Region 6. And by the way, when we look at regions here, we are using the home team to base the region that we place the games in. So we should have set that up toward the front there. I have East Texas Baptist versus Oshkosh in a game that I think is going to be pretty interesting in a lot of ways. Two different styles, I feel like. I feel like Oshkosh has the defense that's going to clamp down the score in this game, but at the same time, East Texas Baptist, is going to try to fun and gun it, I think, a little bit in this game. We'll see what happens with it. You have the obvious game here, Whitewater versus St. John's. I don't think we need to explain much about that. Also, the Thursday games that have been played, Platteville versus Michigan Tech went to?
Went to the I think they're like the Wolves or the Wolverines. Michigan Tech won 23-13. For Platteville though, they should take some positives from the game. I mean, Michigan Tech is sort of on the outskirts of the top 25 for D2, so they're a solid team. They had their flashes. They did pretty well defensively for stretches of the game. So I think certain things positive to take away for the Pios. The second game though, Frank, Concordia versus Valley City State was absolutely nuts. 10 personal foul flags on the Vikings. And, I really have to credit the Cobbers. And I think it comes down to coaching and just the mentality of the players. They did not fight. They kept their composure and they kept chipping away. They won the game 14-12. They scored a touchdown late in the fourth quarter and had to basically – I think either half block or just get a little lucky on a missed field goal. It's interesting. The Valley City announcing crew was kind of hoping that when there was a flag on the 2-point play, they were assuming that they would get to redo the down. That's not how football works, folks. It gets assessed on the kickoff. So they were like, "Oh, we get another chance to tie the game." Like, no, you don't, guys. Like, learn the rule book. So anyway, a very entertaining game, a nice nightcap for a solid 7-game slate of D3 games. And then there's some more tonight and then a ton on Saturday.
There's a huge event. Yeah, I mean, some might view it as a game, but I do want to call it to folks' attention. Tonight in the entire D3 sphere that we live in and everything, there is an elite event going on. Not just Hobart hosting Alfred.
Yeah.
we got to do something here to
Rock and roll, baby.
to zoom in on things here. Give me a second here.
Please don't. Yeah, look at that guy. He looks pretty rocking for an older guy, I guess.
JB, tell us about this.
Should have photoshopped this a little more and take a couple of wrinkles and pounds off. But yeah, just my band is performing around here tonight. Should be fun. Gonna be covering a lot of 90s and 2000s alternative rock hits, and yeah. We actually did some band photos, and that's what we got here. Trying to look cool at my age, but it's kind of pulling it off, Frank. Maybe. I don't know.
Oh, hold on a second. I know you look larger than life there, but
was this because you told Coach Milne that I had a big head? As far as like my ego goes, or he was nice enough to say I have some brains in here. Although my wife Jen might kind of question that statement. Same thing with the kids, but yeah.
I'm just gonna leave it at that. Good luck tonight, JB. Good luck. Rock on, buddy.
I'll do my best.
Well, if you look at the screen now, you see a little preview of what we're up to now.
Oh boy, here we go again.
Yep. Would you like a little music to go with it?
Do you want to remind everybody what happened with this last year?
No, I'll allow you while I eat my donut right now. If you're gonna make me eat crow in the process of this.
Actually, I have to give us a little bit of credit though, Frank. I mean, we were right about 73% of the time, which, I think that's pretty good for the most part when you're looking at however many, I think we picked around between like 150 games over the course of the entire season, and only finished 3 points apart. I edged you out at the very end there, or basically, I think more or less hung on for dear life. Because you got hot there down the stretch, but it was really fun, and maybe we'll see if we can do a similar thing this year. Maybe, I still have the crown. I just gotta, we'll see if Frank can catch me.
Isn't it a belt? Don't we have belts for this thing?
Yeah, we should have a belt or something for this thing. I don't know. What we got? Do I have anything in here? No, can't tell. Maybe helmet.
I've got the preferred helmet. That's what I've got for you. Okay.
Helmet? Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So here's how it works. We're going to speed through 14 games right now in week 1 in 12 minutes. This is going to be the toughest week to pick because we have no data to really go off of for some of these, and this is just on whims. So the toughest part of all this, folks, before I start this clock, is realistically the question of who's back for certain teams, because we don't know of all the fifth-year seniors. We have ideas from some of the stuff we've seen, but not all of them. And so it's a tough one to pick some of these games. We think we've adjusted decently to that question, but we'll find out the hard way coming up.
Yep.
Okay, I'm getting my voice ready.
Here we go.
Do you want to go first or second to start? I will give you the honor of choosing.
I think, given I'm the reigning champ, I'll be kind and I'll defer the kickoff to you. So you can either elect to receive or kick off, I guess.
I believe I should go first. How's that? Don't get too into this. Clock starts now, or after I announce the first game, which is on the screen. Region 1, Rowan from the NJAC at Widener in the MAC. My view here is that Rowan is going to be an improved team this season, but I think Widener is the classier of the two teams in terms of the class on the field to start the season. And so I'm going to give Widener a slim edge in this one, a score of 30-24. Go ahead.
Rowan was picked to finish second in the NJAC. They do have a lot of guys back, like quarterback Mike Husney, who's been around for a while. I'm going to go with the Profs. I think they really need to turn their program around. A little bit of pressure on Coach Accorsi, maybe, who's sporting a pretty sweet beard. If you haven't seen it, take a look. I'll go with the Profs. Maybe a high-scoring game, 38-35.
Now, this year we've used better technology. I'm just going to basically click something and the next game shows up now. This is unheard of for In the Huddle to have technology that actually works
Amazing.
well. Amazing. Westminster in the pack against Delaware Valley in the MAC. Hit it.
I mean, DVU is a nationally ranked team. They'll be favored. Westminster, though, picked to win the pack. I still feel, though, the defense with the Nobile brothers and company will be just enough to hang on here. It's going to be a low-scoring game, but the Aggies win 14-10.
Is it DVU or DVC? We've always had this dispute, and now I'm looking at it.
Now.
Yeah, they're all doing it. They're all doing it. Yeah, Utica, all of them. Anyway, it's going to be Delaware Valley. Ian Barr Company, I applaud again for the second straight year playing a very tough first week game. Last year's Mount Union. Cole Kanichka's back too, obviously. It's going to be a good game, though. I wish I could be at this one just as much as the one I'm going to be attending tomorrow. Delaware Valley wins this 34-21 going away, though. Next game up is still Region 1. FDU Florham from the MAC at Merchant Marine Academy. A battle of two new head coaches, and Jamison Kroll will get his dub in this game. Merchant Marine will find a way to just throw off things against Florham, or FDU Florham, excuse me, by a score of 24-17.
Yeah, I mean, even though there's no Choop and, we'll miss him, I think the Mariners just have a little too much talent coming back. I know Jaden Daly will be in the booth with his picture of Mikey. Mikey will be looking down, rooting for the Mariners. I think the triple option runs away with this one, 35-17.
The penalty of going second at the start is having to pick this one first. Region 2, Whitworth at Carnegie Mellon at Northwest Conference versus Pac. Go ahead.
I mean, last year, the Tartans went on the road, cross country, and lost by a field goal. Their defense and their offense wasn't quite together, as Ben Mills, the junior quarterback, told us in our preseason interview. I like the Tartans here at home in Pittsburgh to win it. This time with a little more distance, say 31-21.
Now with auto looping of the William Tell Overture on this show too. I mean, we are just hitting it.
High tech is.
No kidding. This high tech will also tell us that Carnegie Mellon has a chip on their shoulder. We had the interview. Ryan Larson and company are ready for this game. And being the host, I think a cross country trip is never easy. So I'm going to give this edge to Carnegie Mellon by the final score of 28-24. So a close game, I still think there.
Okay.
Johns Hopkins in Centennial at Case Western in the pack. Ryan Stevens and company showed us something in that first-round playoff game against Salisbury, and why not continue that pace? Case Western had an off year last year by all estimations. I give this one to Hopkins by the final score of 31-20.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I think Case is going to be a dark horse in the pack race this year, Hopkins has just got too much firepower. I mean, they'll probably score 50 points in every game. That said, I think Case will also score a lot of touchdowns potentially too. I'm going to take Hop to win this game like 55-40.
Keep going. Alfred at Hobart. Sorry, I had to start this one too.
Hobart. I like the Statesmen at home. They haven't lost a game at the Boz in over 2 years. Alfred is still a young team. They've got some talent, and I think they'll be competitive in the Empire 8, but too much Hobart on a Friday night in front of a big crowd. I think the Statesmen win it, say 31-10.
Yeah, I don't hate that one. I think Hobart does have a little bit more coming back with good experience, and that's going to loom large in this game. I think they're actually going to score some points. Cruson and company want to prove that they can master that scoreboard early in the season. 37 Hobart, Alfred 20. Next one up is going to be a Region 3 game. Oh, look at that. Muhlenberg at Mary Hardin Baylor, Centennial, and American Southwest. Listen, if Muhlenberg wins, we'll go live with a post-game show because it will be an upset, and a huge upset. Even though it's number 11 versus number 1 technically here, realistically, the distance between number 11 and number 1 in people's minds is gigantic. And any time you get into the top 4, top 5, that's a huge leap in terms of experience and depth. and that's the issue here. I think the depth issue is where Muhlenberg's going to have problems before halftime, maybe even. Mary Hardin-Baylor wins this game 37-14.
Yeah, I don't hate that either. I mean, there's just too much coming back for the defending champions, and without knowing the status of Muhlenberg's quarterback, it's hard to give them much of a chance. But I think Coach Milne will have a good game plan. They'll hang around, but ultimately Kyle King and company, just too much. KJ Miller is going to have a big game. I'll take the Crusaders 45-21.
D3 Football's Greg Thomas has a lot to say about this one. I don't understand it, to be honest with you. I love Greg to death. But Linfield from Northwest Conference visiting Huntington in the USA South. Go ahead. You start, but go ahead.
I mean, Huntington gave, I think it was, Oshkosh or one of the WIAC teams a pretty good run for their money last season. And so, they're a playoff caliber program, but Linfield has traditionally always been a top 15 program. I mean, I just think the Cats are going to win this one. A little bit of a dogfight in the first half, but will eventually pull away. We don't know about their new quarterback, so maybe it'll be closer than I think. But I'll still go with Linfield 28-24.
Linfield's not a stranger to cross-country trips. They went to Rowan a few years back, don't forget, and held themselves together pretty well there. I think they're going to do just fine down in the South. And I will give Linfield the edge in this one by the score of 37-17. I really think this is going to be a rout for some reason. Hampton-Sydney at Wabash, we talked about a little bit earlier. This was one of my games to watch. I'm going to say that Hampton-Sydney pulls the win out here, believe it or not.
Okay.
Oh, I see you diligently writing. You're crossing out what you thought I might say.
I'm keeping track of this stuff, so I'm the statistician in this pair here.
I think the looking past issue is something real here a little bit for Wabash, and so I'm going to give Hampton-Sydney the Tigers the slight edge in this game by a close 21-20 final score.
All right. Yeah, I'm going to go with the Little Giants. I just feel like they were picked pretty high in NCAC. They're going to have some pretty high expectations. Hampton-Sydney, so-so season last year. I think it's going to be a close game, but Wabash will hang on and win it, say 31-24.
You talk while I fixed DePauw's name on this for some reason. I got edited in wrong. Go ahead. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I remember last season, before 2021, Coach Cat told us that DePauw was bringing back a ton of seniors and fifth years. Those guys are probably gone now. Close game against Rose-Hulman in the playoff last year. I'm going to go with the Engineers in a low-scoring, maybe like kind of run slugfest type of game, 24-21.
DePauw, I believe in you. DePauw's going to win this game. Final score, 30-24. St. Olaf at Central. I still think Central's going to have enough gas in the tank in this one, despite the loss of Blaine Hawkins. Don't call me Haskins. But sorry, I had to do it. You're wearing the Central color, by the way, so maybe this is an ominous approach by me. But Central wins 25-18 in a weird scoring game. How's that?
Yeah, throw a safety in there, maybe a 2-point interception return after a PAT. Safety dance. All right, let's go. We got 2.5 minutes. We got 3 games.
You got to pick the game.
This is actually the best.
You've got to pick the game.
Central wins. Let's go. Next one.
What's the score while I get it?
34-20.
River Falls at Elmhurst. Hit it.
I'll go with UW-RF in this one. Even though they're the road team, I feel like their program's on the way up. Elmhurst is strong too. CCIW is no joke of a conference. But I feel like if you were the third place team in the Y or WIAC last season, you'd probably be favored. So I'll take, I think they're the River Hawks, I think they're called. This will be a pretty exciting one, back and forth, but ultimately like a 45-35 type of game.
Went long there, so I'm just going to say River Falls is the class act of this game. It's going to be 31-20 in favor of River Falls. ETBU at Oshkosh. I'm a believer in Oshkosh right now. Peter Jennings and company, we saw it's going to be a team that's going to be gel really well this season. I'm looking forward to see what they can do, especially in that Whitewater game on that Friday night in the future that Peter Jennings is thrilled about. Anyway, Oshkosh wins, low-scoring game, 2010.
Since the weather's still good up in Wisconsin, I think it's actually going to be a higher scoring game, but I still like the Titans to win it like 34 or 20.
Under a minute with one game to go. And we need a full minute for this one. Whitewater at St. John's. This is interesting. This is tough, and this has implications. Like I said, both teams can still make the playoffs with a loss here easily, but it will have implications on who might be a host or number one seed later on in the season when the playoffs do form. JB.
Yeah, I like Whitewater, and I might be the only person that covers D3 football that thinks St. John's might be headed for a slightly down year by their standards. So I think it's going to be pounding the rock, and I think the Warhawks are going to win in a lower scoring type of affair, but like 31-21. Well, is that low scoring? Not really. Okay, maybe say 28-27.
Max Myler being gone, I think, affects this game. I think St. John's may have a little bit of oomph here to actually win this game at home. I think that's where I'm going to go with this whole thing. Because they're at home, St. John's wins this game. Number 5 beats number 4 by the final score of 24-23 in a barn burner. And that, folks, our lightning predictions. I may be starting off like a 3-11 type of start at this pace, for all we know.
Well, let's just say though. I mean, I'm looking down at the list. We agreed on math. 10 of the 14 games, so we're off by 4. So that's typically how this works. Is someone gets a little hit here and there, and that's how this goes. But yeah, we agreed on Del Val, Merchant Marine, Carnegie Mellon, Hopkins, Hobart, Mary Hardin Baylor, Linfield, Central, River Falls, Oshkosh, and then differed on the Rowan Widener, Wabash, Hardin, Hampton Sydney, Rose-Hulman, DePaul, and then Whitewater, St. John's. So we'll see what happens.
You picked Rowan?
Yeah.
I'm going back now. I didn't catch that because I was worrying about tech over here.
I was talking about.
I know you were, but
I
didn't know you actually picked them. I'm a little shocked by that, to be honest with you, because you've been riding the Widener wave a lot more than I have been over the last however long.
Yeah. Well, my buddy Juan Sanchez, who's a Rowan grad, who does his little Rowan spring preview write up. I think I might be on the Profs train, and then the fact they got picked second in the NJAC by the coaches, it says something to me. I think they might be stronger than we realize.
See, we have some fans that are already retweeting and liking our show here, this Friday show. For folks that didn't get to watch it live, make sure you let them know we are out there, even though my camera is a little out of sync with my voice in this show today. We will get that fixed for the future. I know how to resolve that one. But JB, last thoughts. I always give you the start and the finish because people want to hear from you, not from me. Let's say you have a concert tonight, so I know where you'll be tonight. Tomorrow, though, you've got viewing options. You can only get 1 or 2 games on your screen at a time. What are those games going to be tomorrow? Let the folks know what they should be watching for.
Well, I mean, if you really want to get the full national experience, you should probably, you're going to be starting off in the old East region, Region 1s and 2. There's going to be a bunch of noon kickoffs. Probably the first game you want to tune into is probably Westminster Del Val. See how that goes. There's a few other interesting ones out there. Rowan Widener kicks off at 1. Framingham against Brockport's also at noon. And then there's it's kind of a nice stagger in Region 1 and 2. But then once you start getting to Region 3, we have some of the 2 p.m. kickoffs. Callaloo versus Southwestern is kind of an interesting one. That's also the Austin versus Hendricks could be one to check out. And while you're waiting to tune into Muhlenberg and Mary Hardin Baylor or Linfield Huntington, you can also check out North Carolina Wesleyan and Randolph-Macon at 6, although there is something going on that we're going to pull off that you may want to tune in for. All the Region 4 games are 1 o'clock kickoffs or 1:30, and then the Region 5s are 2 p.m. Eastern kickoffs. And then you basically, once you get into Region 6, pretty much all the games are 2 p.m. or later. We have a couple of SCIAC NWC crossovers that start at 3. Dakota State, which is an FCS school, is going to play Wisconsin lacrosse at 5 Eastern. And then for you real diehards, we have the Red Eye 10 p.m. West Coast games, George Fox versus Redlands, Pacific versus Chapman. So you could literally start at noon tomorrow and watch D3 football until about 1 in the morning if you really want to.
I wish I had the opportunity to see that Cal Lutheran Southwestern game in person, but they didn't offset it by enough for me to be able to watch both that and right up the street, the Mary Hardin Baylor game, essentially. So disappointed I get to miss that, unfortunately. But we'll see what else I can concoct when I'm down in Texas. Let's see how my flight goes tomorrow to start things off. That's all I'll say.
Yeah.
And tonight, I might be tweeting from somewhere from a game tonight. We'll see what happens, folks. You'll want to kind of keep your eye out on that. I know JB will be half playing guitar, half retweeting stuff from me tonight.
Not until about 8:30, 9 o'clock. So, and I get little breaks in between. So I'll be definitely keeping track of games tonight. And let's talk a little more about tomorrow, though, because we've for the last few years we've always had this game day live. I mean, you'll be in person, I'll be virtual here in Florida. But what time are we getting going? And tell us what we can expect from Belton other than barbecue.
6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central Time. We're going to just go live, talk about the games that were already played on Saturday, talk about implications of the game that we're going to see, and maybe have some special guests along the way. It is a celebration of their national championship tomorrow night in Belton for Mary Hardin Baylor, so there's going to be, I think, a lot of dignitaries all around. And you never know who we might be able to drag over to our set to have a little discussion and some good banter with down there. Hey, and if you're from Muhlenberg and you want to come say hi, if you're making that trip in any way, shape, or form, we'll be happy to have you on as well. So just reach out to us, let us know. Go ahead.
I hope you do have some Muhlenberg people pop over, because I still feel like, I mean, we've been doing this for 15 seasons now. There's been a lot, we're on episode 335 or something. I can't keep track anymore. But one of my top 5 all-time moments was that touchdown that you caught on camera in Alliance when the Muhlenberg receiver turned around, pointed the ball right in my face, and was basically shove it, JB, check this out, check me out. That was one of the best moments of this show, or the covering D3 football that I've ever had. It was great, and I hope maybe we'll see that again Saturday night.
Can't wait to see the atmosphere. I know it's not going to be Hardin Simmons-like atmosphere at the Cathedral, but that game won't be played at the Cathedral this year. It'll be at Hardin Simmons later on this month. And so you're going to want to really tune in and see what this atmosphere is going to be like, and whether or not they're starstruck in terms of Muhlenberg. Like you said, Brockport might have been when they came down for the semifinals a number of years ago. Until then, JB, let's go enjoy our Fridays and some Friday night action in Division 3, and then we have a full menu on Saturday. Not just the barbecue I'm going to eat, but of some great action throughout Division 3. Can't wait. We're back, folks. Season 15 for us here on In the Huddle. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you soon.